Hello everyone, welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news about rain-caused problems, news about the NFL coming to LA, Obama's gun control proposals, today's gas prices, weather, sports, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Winnick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. So how about that rain out there? Well, yesterday, the Ridgecrest Police Department was busy handling traffic accidents. There was one accident on West Ridgecrest Boulevard. A truck was backing out of a business in the 300 block when a Crown Victoria ran right into the truck. The Crown Victoria was eastbound when it actually slammed partway under the truck bed. The Ford had to be towed from the scene. There were no serious injuries. There were other accidents as well. The police department implores everyone to slow down when it's raining. And seeing how we have a series of storms that will continue through Friday and then even start again on Sunday or Monday, everyone should leave a little extra time to get around. And keep an eye out for localized road flooding. We had some areas with minor flooding reported yesterday too. We'll have more details of the storms coming in the weather report by Lane in just a few minutes. In other news from Ridgecrest Police Department, with the retirement of Sergeant Myers this month, Officer Nathan Lloyd got the approval from Chief Strand to become the department's newest sergeant. Sergeant Lloyd started with the department in 2007. He has worked in patrol, detectives, field officer training, range staff, traffic division, as well as other duties. After being sworn in by City Clerk Rachel Ford, he was pinned with his new sergeant badge by his wife Crystal. Our congratulations goes out to Sergeant Lloyd, and my personal congratulations goes to him as well. I have worked with him as a volunteer and find him to be a true professional. Congratulations, sir. Here's the latest on the NFL possibly coming to the Los Angeles area. LA is another step closer to getting football back. Whether it moves the Chargers out of San Diego, the Raiders from Oakland, or brings the St. Louis Rams halfway across the country, LA is one step closer. All three teams have filed paperwork for relocation to the LA area. The last relocation the NFL saw was when the Houston Oilers packed up and headed to Tennessee to eventually become the Titans. There is strong support for the LA move here too. Congresswoman Janice Hahn and the city of Carson Brass have been trumpeting support for a team with open arms for a while now. They're saying, if you can't work it out with your respective cities, we will welcome you with open arms in Carson. The St. Louis owner made things interesting when he proposed a $1.86 billion stadium project in Inglewood. Oakland and San Diego forged an alliance for a $1.75 billion stadium in Carson. Oakland and San Diego are currently home to the two oldest stadiums in the NFL, so they are getting testy with their current cities. The city of St. Louis, on the other hand, ponied up some cash and proposed a $1.1 billion stadium plan along St. Louis's North Riverfront, $400 million of it, which is auctionable public money. The whole situation is still trudging through some very murky waters, and a lot of things have to fall into place in order for the various plans to come to fruition. But it is possible the NFL would approve more than one team to move to LA. I expect the NFL will probably only allow one team to move. However, there are two teams that play in New York. The New York Giants and the New York Jets play in the same building, which cost $1.6 billion and opened in 2010. Well, anyway, all three teams filed papers right at the start of the required proposal period, instead of waiting weeks until the end of the filing period. That shows a sincere interest to make the move. Maybe it'll happen yet. Next, we have a comment from Congressman McCarthy on President Obama's attack on the Second Amendment. McCarthy said yesterday that the President cannot infringe on our Second Amendment rights. From Washington, House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy released the following statement on the President's executive action on gun control. He said, "The American people have constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Ultimately, this executive guidance is only a weak gesture, a shell of what the President actually wants. Congress and the American people have repeatedly said no to President Obama's ineffective policies that would infringe on the Second Amendment. The House continues to stand for the Constitution and in defense of American people's rights. That was McCarthy's comments. A quick analysis of what he has proposed offers nothing that would have stopped the shootings that he showed deep emotion for during his press conference yesterday. And really, we won't know the real impacts until the ATF implements the new executive orders. One main target of his proposal is to stop private sales of firearms without background checks. I should state that in California, that is already illegal. In California, it is a felony for any private person to sell any firearm to another private person directly. In California, they have to do what is called a private party transfer. This process involves both the seller and the buyer having to come into a gun store with the gun to be transferred. The licensed dealer then does the necessary background check on the buyer to complete the transfer. Now back to the President's proposal to stop private gun sales. And the emphasis is against sellers at gun shows. First, any dealer at a gun show already does a background check on a buyer. Did you catch that? It's only the private sellers at gun shows that don't do the background checks. But again, that is not the case in California. However, there is already current federal law covering this in every state. The law states that as a general rule, you need a license if you repetitively buy and sell firearms with the principal motive of making a profit. The ATF says they have even prosecuted selling as few as 2 firearms when they were able to determine the purchase of the gun and then the sale of the gun was for the purpose of making a profit. So, really a new law or executive order isn't even necessary if they would just enforce the current law. If the feds went into these gun shows that are such a problem for them and just went around and checked the sellers there, anyone selling guns could be challenged to get a license. That's current law. The exception to the law is private parties that are just selling off for private collection, or a gun collector that sometimes buys and sells to improve his own collection. So, current federal law does give the ATF the ability to control private sales. They just rarely enforce the laws they already have. So, really, all he has to do is enforce current laws, unless the goal is to stop all private sales. And of course, everyone knows that is the ultimate goal. But again, we await the details on the order. Now stay with us. We'll have a story about an elected official challenging police pursuits in his state. Thanks for staying with us. Now here's a story about some elected officials seeing police doing their job. Here's an astonishing story from Mississippi. A city councilman, fed up with police from other counties racing after small-time crooks in his Jackson, Mississippi neighborhood, has called for residents to throw things at officers in pursuit. Yep, you heard me right. A councilman is encouraging citizens to throw things at police officers' cars when they are chasing a suspect in a vehicle pursuit. Now, the governor and a county sheriff are threatening to have prosecutors investigate him over this suggestion. Councilman Kenneth Stokes has a reputation of saying what he thinks and stirring controversy. He said, "Let's get rocks, let's get bricks, and let's get bottles, and we'll start throwing them, and then they won't come in here anymore." It was no off-the-cuff quip. Stokes repeated the suggestion to other local news outlets. When you have these police officers coming from other jurisdictions, and they will not respect human life, then I said we should use rocks, bricks, or bottles to try and get the message over. Stop endangering our children, Stokes told Jackson's The Clarion Ledger newspaper. Other local law enforcement have responded to the councilman with this: "Law enforcement will not be intimidated by you. Any Madison County law enforcement that is attacked because of your ignorant statements, I will hold you responsible. I fully intend to contact the Mississippi Attorney General and inquire if your statements constitute assaults on officers by threat," the Post read. Governor Phil Bryant joined with a similar statement on Facebook. He said, "This is nothing short of an outright assault upon all who wear the badge. I will be asking Attorney General Jim Hood to investigate whether Mr. Stokes' remarks represent criminal threats against law enforcement officers," he said. In news about water wasters, we get this report from the Indian Wells Valley Water District. December saw 25 people reported for wasting water. The Water District sent formal warnings to 4 of the offenders. They also sent out 4 fines to 4 more offenders. So far, the total penalties billed to offenders totaled $1,250 in fines, of which $800 has been collected so far. The Water District wants to remind everyone that water restrictions are still in effect for outdoor landscaping watering. Even addresses can water on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Odd number addresses can water on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. No one can water on Mondays. And also the Water District wants to remind everyone that you cannot water any landscaping within 48 hours of any rainfall. So seeing as how we're having a lot of rain falling out there, now's the time to turn off your water sprinklers. Do not water within 48 hours of any rainfall. Now in KZGN's continuous effort to provide news and information you've asked for, here are today's gas prices for Ridgecrest and some surrounding areas. Well, since my last report on Monday, gas prices everywhere have held steady, and Ridgecrest has the lowest prices in the area we are monitoring. Lancaster's low is currently $2.89 a gallon, which is 12 cents more per gallon than here. That's a big difference. Example, if you fill a 20-gallon gas tank, that computes to a $2.40 savings by filling up here in Ridgecrest. As of this morning, Ridgecrest is ranging from $2.77 to $3.22, Lancaster from $2.89 to $3.19, the LA Valley area $2.89 to $3.09, and the Bishop area $2.86 to $3.09. We have 4 stations coming in at the $2.77 amount. Tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for updates. We at KZGN always suggest you shop locally to support our local economy. Remember, when you pay sales tax out of town, you're helping those cities pave their streets instead of here. Now stay with us for weather and sports after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Now here's Lane with the weather.
Thank you, Tom. From the National Weather Service, major flooding is occurring or forecast on the Mississippi and Ohio rivers and tributaries in Missouri, Illinois, and Kentucky, with record flooding at several locations. Major flooding is also occurring on the Arkansas River and tributaries in Arkansas. Floodwaters will move downstream over the next couple of weeks, with significant river flooding expected for the lower Mississippi into mid-January. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas at 51, Georgia at 43, Arkansas at 49, northern Texas at 43, Arizona at 58, and Los Angeles at 57. And for us locally, tonight, a 70% chance of showers and thunderstorms, cloudy with a low around 36, south-southwest wind 10 to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 30. Thursday, a 50% chance of showers, mostly cloudy with a high near 52, southwest wind 10 miles per hour with gusts as high as 15. Thursday night, a 40% chance of rain, mostly cloudy with a low around 31, south-southwest wind 10 miles per hour with gusts as high as 15. Friday, a 20% chance of showers, partly sunny with a high near 51, west-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Friday night, partly cloudy with a low around 30, south-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. And Saturday, a 20% chance of rain, partly sunny with a high near 50, south-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. And that is your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tom.
Thanks, Lane. And now here's Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Wednesday early evening to everyone. Last night, Burroughs High School basketball, the boys played a neutral court game. They played Lancaster High School over at Cal City High School. They dropped a very tough 43-40 game. Burroughs now 2-10 on the year. They will start their conference season this coming Friday night. They will be playing away on the road at Hesperia. Now, the Burroughs High School girls won their game last night. They were at home. They defeated Lancaster by a score of 35-30. The JV girls also won. Burroughs off to a very good non-conference season. They're currently 9-2. They too will open up this Friday against Hesperia. They'll be at home. Freshman game, or the JV game starts at 4:30. The varsity game at 6. All right, the soccer games were all rained out last night due to the inclement weather. NBA, the Lakers' 3-game losing streak finally ended. Golden State beat them up at Oakland 109-88. Now, Luke Walton, 27-2 now, is the interim coach for Golden State. He's done a very, very good job replacing Steve Kerr, who is out with back surgery. Kerr should be back next month sometime. All right, also in the NBA last night, Sacramento lost to Dallas in 2 overtimes, 117-116. Chicago beats Milwaukee, and the Knicks beat Atlanta. Knicks much improved. Derek Fisher doing a good job with that club. They won that game in New York, 107-101. High school basketball tonight, it'll be Emmanuel Christian of Ridgecrest over at Trona. College basketball top 25 last night. Louisiana State upsets number 9 Kentucky. They did that rather lopsidedly down in Baton Rouge. Indiana over Wisconsin. That game closed till the very, very end. UCLA has started off 0-2 in their season. They lost 2 games up in Washington this week. They come home to Poly to play against the Arizona Schools starting tomorrow. USC split their games up in Washington. They'll be home also to play against the Arizona Schools. USC much improved this year. Overall, they have now won 10 games this season. Okay, the playoffs, NFL, we'll talk more about them tomorrow. Seattle will be at Minnesota, supposed to be 7 degrees below zero sometime during that game. That's a wee bit cold. The good news is overcast skies, no snow during the game anyway. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati will be a very interesting game. I'm going to go ahead and pick Cincinnati in this one. Green Bay will be at Washington. I look for Washington to upset Green Bay, if you could call it that. And Kansas City, the Chiefs. They've won 10 games in a row. They started off not too good this year, 2-4. But since then, they've rolled off a lot of wins. They have the wild card. They'll be at Texas, who won the NFC South. Now, the Chiefs have lost 8 games in a row in the playoffs, so we'll see what happens. That game down in Houston. Texans got in the playoffs. They defeated the Jaguars Sunday in Houston. All right, Denver, Arizona, Carolina, New England, they all get byes in the playoffs. We'll see what happens this coming weekend. Should be pretty interesting. I'm Tom Heck for sports. This is KZGN.
So that's the news for today. Also, KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Now stay tuned for Ridgecrest Talk coming up next.